This diagram represents the ultimate boundary of human knowledge, as defined by Immanuel Kant. Above the line is representation, the world as it appears to our senses, heavily filtered and structured by our minds. Below the line is the noumenon, or the thing in itself, the actual reality that exists independently of our perception. Our cognitive apparatus strictly formats all incoming data using the principle of sufficient reason, a built-in logical rule demanding that every effect has a cause. This process forces the chaos of reality into the rigid, predictable categories of space, time, and causality. In 1818, Arthur Schopenhauer proposed a radical break from this impenetrable boundary. He observed that we possess a unique double knowledge of our own bodies. We perceive our limbs objectively as physical items occupying space, just like any other object. But we also experience ourselves through kinesthesia, the direct internal awareness of our own movements and physical drives. In the moment of a physical drive, we are not observing an object through the filters of space and time. We are inhabiting the impulse itself. This direct, unmediated feeling is the Kantian thing in itself, experienced from the inside. The hidden architecture of reality is not located in the heavens or in a mathematical abstraction. It is the very engine driving our own physical existence. Schopenhauer identified this core essence as the will, an insatiable, blind, and non-rational impulse that forms the foundation of all matter. The will has no end goal. It is an aimless, subterranean force aggressively crushing through granite, devoid of any final purpose or design. This upends the long-standing view of the universe as a rational, ordered system progressing toward a just end. For Schopenhauer, we do not inhabit a clockwork cosmos, but a storm of unthinking energy. This same unthinking pressure governs everything across the natural world, from the formation of inorganic crystals to the fierce biological drive of animals to reproduce. Human consciousness is not the pinnacle of creation. Our intellect is a late-stage evolutionary accident, a specialized tool generated strictly to help the blind hunger of the will secure its next meal. The cosmos is irrational. It functions entirely as a manifestation of endless, terrifying, unthinking pressure. To understand why we experience this pressure as individuals, we must look at the hardware of the brain. Schopenhauer points to the principium individuationis, the specific mechanism our minds use to process the universe into separate, distinct entities. In this model, the singular, unified essence of the will is violently fractured by human cognition into a multiplicity of distinct competing objects. The concepts of space and time act as precise cognitive borders that generate the illusion of separateness. By forcing reality into coordinates of here and there, our minds trap us in isolation. Because the intellect evolved to serve the will, reason does not seek objective truth. It calculates survival. It evaluates the objects around us based solely on how they can satisfy our underlying drives. We are not rational agents making free choices. Every person possesses an intelligible character, an innate essence that dictates our behavior and exists outside the flow of time. Every action we take is the determined execution of that fixed character responding to motives. We do not choose what we want. We act on the wants we are programmed to have. Individual reality is an epistemological trap. A single force, blinded by its own cognitive hardware, is tricked into a war against itself. This metaphysical concept translates directly into the structural, biological psychology of human desire. This flowchart models the inescapable feedback loop of human consciousness. Because we are the physical expression of a will that has no end goal, our consciousness is built on a foundation of perpetual lack. To exist as a manifestation of the will is to exist as a drive that can never be finalized. Schopenhauer defines pain not as physical injury, but as the agonizing psychological friction of unfulfilled desire. As long as we want, we suffer. The exact moment a desire is achieved, the psyche is flooded with boredom, a crushing, suffocating emptiness that lingers until the next desire begins the cycle again. Satisfaction decays the moment it is reached. Life swings like a heavy pendulum between the agony of wanting and the deadening weight of having. There is a temporary escape from this cycle, aesthetic perception, specifically music. Music bypasses the principle of individuation. Instead of representing physical objects, music acts as a direct, will-less copy of the universe's inner essence, the abstract forms of feeling itself. By listening, we enter a state of pure knowing. But art is merely an anesthetic. When the symphony ends, the pendulum resumes its swing. To find a permanent solution, we must push past the temporary relief of art and force an ethical confrontation with the nature of existence. Schopenhauer points to the example of the Australian bulldog ant. When severed in half, the insect's head and tail will lock into a visceral death grip, violently battling its own body in a self-cannibalizing struggle. The fractured world of individuals operates exactly like the severed ant. Because all matter is an expression of the same unified will, every act of violence in the natural world is the cosmos endlessly doing violence to its own flesh. The way out is through moral compassion, the realization that the boundaries separating individuals are a cognitive illusion. Once the filters of space and time are removed, the tormentor and the tormented are revealed to be the exact same metaphysical substance. The same eye looks out from every person. True moral consciousness requires absorbing the pains of the entire world. It is the realization that to inflict harm is literally to devour oneself. The ultimate logical solution to this nightmare is asceticism, the deliberate renunciation of all desire and the absolute denial of the will to live. Raw cosmic energy drives us forward. Liberation demands a deliberate rebellion against our own biological imperatives to endure, consume, and reproduce. This is a life and death struggle against human nature itself, actively refusing the relentless pressure of the will. By embracing voluntary poverty and chastity, the ascetic systematically starves the will. They minimize all physical and psychological desires until the ego finally dissolves. The successful ascetic unplugs their own hardware. By refusing to want, they collapse the illusion of the spatio-temporal world. This creates Schopenhauer's closing paradox. To the ordinary human mind, the ascetic state of absolute willlessness looks like nothingness. But to the ascetic who has extinguished the fire of the will, it is our entire universe of striving, with all its galaxies and suns, that becomes the true void.